In his 20 years of experience, our next speaker has been a customer, a partner, a trainer, and a competitor. He has deployed more than 2,000 security gateways in his career, one of them on top of an active volcano. Today, he is a spectacular ping pong player and Check Point's head of strategic marketing and intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Moti Sagey.
Woo! Wook, wook. Can I get a wook, wook? Awesome. Great crowd. So in the tradition of opening with a joke from my daughter Leah, that's now 10, God bless her soul, I'm going to start with, do it with Bruno, a knock-knock joke. So Bruno, knock-knock.
Who's there?
Spell. Spell who? Oh, it's easy, WHO. So it's so not funny that it's funny. So, but that's my Leah. Okay. So you've seen some generations of cybersecurity. I thought that this is maybe a better way to present the state of cybersecurity today. So most of the organizations, most of the enterprises that we've seen are using either antivirus for their desktop, firewall, or IPS, which basically represent Gen 1 to 3. And you can see that it's not so effective versus this amazing guard. Now, of course, there are technology today that protects against advanced threats. However, this is what our customers are facing on a day-to-day basis. All of those vendors that are coming and asking them a very original question: what keeps you up at night? So I have two friends that are CIOs, and they told me, I'm so sick of that question. But look at those: web security, endpoint security, application security, mail security, mobile security, data security, threat intelligence. All of those vendors are basically, in a nutshell, focused on detection. They're telling you in very vivid details how you have been screwed and how can they analyze the fact that you've been owned. Now, there is a challenge. Every one of those vendors will tell our customers that they have the best security. Now, a question comes into mind: what is it? Best security sounds like an adjective that doesn't really say much. So how do we test it? So there's a quote here that I really believe in that says, "In God we trust. All others must bring data." So if you're claiming that you have the best security, you might want to prove that with hard, publicly verifiable data that shows it. Now, when you come to define the best security, when you come to define the Gen 5 of cybersecurity, I think it boils down to three core elements. First one being effective, basically effective in blocking attacks. The second one, that this effective security needs to run everywhere, not only on your network or your endpoint, but also on cloud, mobile, IoT, etc. And it needs to be with extreme operational efficiency. So it needs to be efficient. Now, all of those three words, together with the best security, sounds like as if I'm trying to sell you a used car. So I'm going to try to portray in a very detailed, structured, and clear way what it means. So in terms of effective security, it all starts with the right focus. And when you're talking about the right focus of a security company, it is about developing the security products. Our customers rely on our engineering power, on our R&D engineering power, to develop the next generation of security products that will protect them against those mega attacks. Now, we have 1,402 R&D engineers as of December 31st, and I was kind of wondering, how does it compare to the industry as a whole? So let's see how it compares to two other pure security players, and we can see that the headcount of Check Point is 78% more than Palo Alto and close to 20% more than Fortinet. So our customers, when they come to think of that, if they had a choice whether they would want to see a billboard on Times Square or in an airport, or that money would go to hire more engineers to make their security better, I think they would go to that. So that's about focus of a company. The other element of effective security is the right philosophy. And the right philosophy when you build an effective security is to block attacks before they cause damage to your network. And this is all about real-time prevention. Now, in Check Point, or in general, when we tackle features, when we tackle innovations that protects our customers, we have one thing in mind, and that thing is to innovate. Not to think what the customer is expecting us, but to think what the customer needs. And each of our developments in threat prevention is all about real-time prevention, starting from CPU-level advanced threat prevention, hold mode for threat emulation, threat extraction for 0 days, zero phishing browser extension, anti-ransomware, push forward, and many other features that you will see in the later session. So all of those things have one thing in mind: real-time prevention of threats. And this is what the industry analysts are saying about our innovation. Gartner is saying Check Point has gained ground from an innovation standpoint and can boast one of the most complete offerings in the network security market today. Forrester is raving about our threat extraction technology that are years ahead in terms of compared to the other players in the industry. Security vendors provide Gen 5 real-time prevention. So this is an example of a vendor called Palo Alto Networks that takes at least 5 minutes to move from detection to prevention. And the GIF that you see is from the Bundesliga. I don't know what he was thinking, but that, I think, shows the lack of real-time prevention. Another example of missing something is PAN is not able to scan any PDF file that is over 1 megabyte size limit. Think about it. Now, actually, I have a friend from Palo Alto Networks. I confronted it with him. So he told us, oh, they told us that only 1.5% of the malware is over 1 megabyte. So I told him, OK, I'll take that. I'll bite. So for every 1,000 files that your network gets, you will have 15 malwares. So you find it acceptable? I don't know. Another example, Fortinet in their admin guide says sending file to the Forti Sandbox Cloud does not block file that it uploads. This is about FireEye in the latest NSS breach prevention system, basically saying we couldn't participate in the test because our solution is about detection and not blocking prevention. Let's hear another example from Cisco, literally here from the horse's mouth.
Detection phase to what AMP does after it knows something is bad. Since we can't hold onto a file at the network, the file is down.
So all of these elements kind of reminds me that this TV ad.
David, you have one of the worst cavities I have ever seen. Okay, have a good day.
Aren't you gonna fix it?
Well, I'm not a dentist, I'm a dental monitor. I just tell you when you have a bad cavity.
That's bad. Lunch?
Oh, yes.
Where are you going?
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it?
Yes. So why monitor a problem if you can't prevent it? One more important element, as important as the other stuff, is the core of the DNA of the vendor that you're dealing with, and that is sense of urgency. So what happens when the security vendor itself finds a vulnerability in their products? So this happened to Check Point twice in the last 2 years. We use OpenSSH. OpenSSH was vulnerable. We were vulnerable. Gaia was vulnerable. And it took us 1 day to release a patch to our customers. Now, it was kind of interesting because it's all publicly verifiable, so I compared it to other vendors. And look at the numbers. For example, Cisco, which is number 2, had 99 vulnerabilities, and it took them on average 48.2 days to release a patch to the operating system. Palo Alto Networks, 93 vulnerabilities, and a whooping 183 days to release a patch. Do you find this acceptable? Do you think our customers find this acceptable? If they knew about it, and I can tell you there were some deals that they learned about it, I think it comes to show two things. First of all, Check Point has in its core of its DNA sense of urgency, while the other vendors, not as much. Another example from the recent vulnerabilities like Meltdown Inspector, Struts, WannaCry, NotPetya, an average of Microsoft Patch Tuesday, we can see that it takes us in terms of minutes, hours, or up to a day, where our customers, not customers, our competitors take as many as 30 days to patch the Eternal Blue vulnerability that basically caused the WannaCry and NotPetya propagation. So another element is that it's part of my contract to tell you that we have the best security and everything, but another element when you're talking to a customer and you want to sound credible is to have a third-party validation of your security excellence. And this is exactly what we have here. We have an independent test lab called NSS Labs that tested our products from 2011, all of our product line, our firewall, our IPS, next generation firewall, next generation IPS, breach detection system, breach prevention system. 17 times, 17 out of the 17 times we got a recommended rating. The others, not so much. FireEye, for example, hasn't been recommended at all. They had 3 cautions and 1 neutral. Palo Alto Networks was recommended only 53% of that time, and not only that, their next generation firewall solution in the next generation firewall test haven't been recommended since 2013. All of these things that I'm showing you as publicly verifiable, you have the link on the bottom, and it's very easy to check, so you will sound credible towards the customer. Another important element in the effective security is that it must not have security shortcuts. So let's see an example, besides the pharmacy that you see here, of a setting in Palo Alto Networks, a default setting. Let's read what it means. The setting is called forward segments exceeding TCP content inspection queue. That's in geek term, we do forward packets. Let's see what the admin guide is saying. By default, that means that it's turned on by default. When the TCP or UDP content inspection queue is full, the firewall skips content ID. Now let me explain what content ID means. It's antivirus, IPS, URL filtering, anti-bot, threat emulation. All of those elements are basically turned off. Now, if you disable this, disabling this option can result in performance degradation, like duh, and some applications may incur loss of functionality. So to put it in simple words, Palo Alto Networks customers have 2 choices: secure and not working, or working and not secure. Simple as that. Fortinet has a setting called intelligent mode enable. This is what the admin guide says. It will scan only the first 200 kilobytes of a session, and this value is hard-coded. Now, all of those things can be easily bypassed if you attend the SEs among you. If you attend the competitive deep dive session later today, you will be able to see live demos of it. And Cisco the same with the client body extraction path. Another element is something that is called evasions. Evasion is basically a way to smuggle malware with different kind of obfuscations and decoding, some kind like ships in wool, something that I forgot how to say. And this is a test, a third-party test by a German security researcher called Stefan Urlich that basically tries to download a test-safe virus called EICAR, and he finds out that all of those vendors in their latest versions are vulnerable to more than 100 security evasions. I urge you to Google HTTP evader and test for yourself. Now, if you're wondering how Check Point fares in this test, we are protected, period. So I think I gave you enough tools to, enough hard data, publicly verifiable, to discuss what is effective security and how Check Point fares compares to the competitors in effective security. Now let's discuss the element of everywhere. Now, you want to have security, but there is a challenge today, And the challenge is that the networks are borderless, meaning your data can reside on the perimeter, the mobile, on Facebook, on Salesforce, on public cloud, on private cloud, etc. Now, that's amazing. That's part of the digital transformation. However, if one area gets infected by a malware, it is easily propagated across all of the data sections, basically creating a problem. Now, what we need is to basically protect every piece of the security elements, whether it's mobile, IoT, network, mobile, etc. Now, how do we do that? One option is to get Gal Gadot. That's one option. Wonder Woman. Now, in case she's busy or she's charging too much money, we have Checkpoint Infinity. Part of the core of the architecture of Checkpoint Infinity is basically that it's being able to run on different platforms, whether it's network, operating system, whether it's private cloud, public cloud, IoT, iOS, Android, etc. And I want to point out something very simple. Our company name is Checkpoint Software Technology, and this is our time to shine because all of our intellectual property is invested in software. Meaning that if we talk, for example, about our acceleration engines like SecureXL, ThinkXL, CoreXL, all kinds of things that ends with Excel, all of these engines are software-based. And if you look at our competitors, for example, Fortinet with their ASICs and Palo Alto with their Keviums, when they move to the cloud, all of their edge, all of their intellectual property in terms of performance and acceleration is basically gone. So this is something to remember and with our unique positioning with our software play. One important element, and this slide might look as if I'm working at Fortinet. By the way, Gil just looked up from his iPhone once he heard it, is latency. Now, when you look at this, you see that Fortinet has lower latency than Checkpoint when you transfer UDP packets. And this is thanks for their NP6 ASIC processors. However, what happens when you transfer packets using deep packet inspection, meaning with IPS, application control, and identity awareness? This is exactly what happens. You see that all of a sudden, the latency of Fortinet, and this is verified by NSS Labs, by the way, is 20 times more than Checkpoint. Palo Alto latency is 5 times more, close to 5 times more than Checkpoint. This is where our software architecture and our, I would say, smooth development on the x86 architecture really, really shines. If you have an environment that basically just wants to push packets, I don't think it's a security device. I think it's a routing or switching device. And last but not least, in terms of everywhere architecture, that our security ecosystem is amplified thanks to our cooperation with our more than 160 technology partners. We are managed to offer our customers a supreme and superior security that basically helps them to sleep better at night. If you compare it to our other competitors, with, whether it's Security Fabric or the application framework of Palo Alto Networks, they are around 25 to 32. This is the order of magnitude in comparison comes to show the positive meaning of legacy. This is OPSEC. It has been brewed for over 24 years, I think. I don't know, Gil, did you open OPSEC on the first day or 96? Okay, so 23 years approximately. Last but not least is you have an effective security, you can run it everywhere, but what about operational efficiency? What about managing it in a unified way that actually saves headcount? So this is a comparison, a survey that was done by a third party, and it measured how many man-hours are required on a yearly management of 50 gateway sites. And you see that our competitors need twice the headcount to manage the same security estate. We are perceived as the gold standard in terms of security management by Gartner. Now, if you ask if there's one slide that can describe the why is that? It's this slide. This is our smart console that shows an unmatched unified access policy, from a single pane of glass. You can deploy the security policy on your users, on your mobile devices, on your data, on your applications. You can deploy the security on gateways, private cloud, public cloud, or your mobile devices. This is something from me to you as a sales tip that I meet a lot with customers, and I find this approach to be the most effective. Fight FUD with FUD. Fight fear, uncertainty, and doubt that basically what the competitors are telling our customers about us. And by the way, you can find detailed objections handling in the tools that I described before. Fight it with facts, understanding, and details. Don't go that down to the road. I have a story from a Jewish rabbi called Moharash. He saw his two sons fighting, and one of his sons fell in a hole, and the other brother basically says, ha ha ha, I'm taller than you now. So he approached them and he says to his son that laughed at him, to be bigger than your peers, there is no need to pull him down. Simply elevate yourself. And that's, I think, a tip good for life, good for business. And basically talk about Checkpoint, talk about our advantage. How do we differentiate? You can talk about the competitors, but only in contrast on how Checkpoint is helping the industry. So this is what we're all about. We're all about Gen 5 security that is effective, efficient, and everywhere. And this is across all of our product portfolio, across all of the environments. And these are the people that will take you there. 1,402 R&D engineers, of course, sales and marketing, and all of them are important. But these are the people that basically build the security for our customers that protects it. Thank you very much. Please leave this slide for a few seconds. On this link, you can get slides. I do ask you not to share them because I'm presenting the same thing again in 2 weeks. But if you need the material, feel free. Let me take a picture of all the phones that are taking picture of me. Not me, the link, of course. You don't care about me. OK. Thank you very much.